Alright, last but not least, number 18 on the worksheet, it just says find the two numbers whose difference is 12 and whose product is a minimum. So for starters, I'm just going to let A and B represent the two numbers. And again, these two numbers, we're told they have to have a difference of 12 and the product has to be a minimum. So let's start with this whole difference of 12 thing. So difference in math means subtraction. So whatever your two numbers are, we'll let A be the larger one. If you subtract them, A minus B, that should be equal to 12. So that's going to be useful information that we're going to use at some point. But the big thing here is we're trying to make the product a minimum. Okay, let's create an equation for that. So in math, product means multiplication. So that means that A times B is going to be a minimum. And let's just call that something. Let's just call it P for product. So this needs to be a minimum. Oops. Pardon me. P needs to be a minimum. Okay, so when you hear the word minimum or read it, you're going to think something to do with the vertex. So we're not actually looking for what the minimum is going to be. We're looking for the numbers that will make it a minimum. So we're looking for the axis symmetry. And like a lot of the word problems we've seen so far is we have too many independent variables. The product right now depends on both A and B, which makes sense, but we can't work with this equation when there's two variables there on the left side of the equation. So what we need to do is use the fact that we know the difference between the two numbers is 12. We can use that to create a second equation to eliminate one of the variables. So the easiest variable to isolate for is going to be A. So I'm just going to add B to both sides of the equation here. And I'm going to let A be equal to B plus 12. Okay, and once I have that, I can substitute that into my product equation over here. So my new equation is going to be B plus 12 times B is equal to P. Okay, so right now, again, I'm looking for the numbers, or in this case the value of B to start with, that makes the product a minimum. So I'm looking for the axis symmetry. So I'm in factored form, which is perfect, because from factored form I can get the zeros. My zeros are going to be negative 12 and 0. Okay, which means I can find my axis symmetry very quickly by adding those two numbers together and dividing by 2. So B is going to be equal to negative 12 plus 0 divided by 2, which you can see very quickly is just going to be equal to negative 6. So that tells you that when B is negative 6, the product's a minimum. So I'm almost done. I've already found one of the two numbers. I just have to find the other one. So to get that last little piece of information, I'm going to use the fact that I know that A is equal to B plus 12. So substituting in what I just got for B, A is going to be equal to negative 6 plus 12, which is simply going to be 6. So when A is 6 and B is negative 6, those two numbers, you'll see that they're 12 apart from each other, and if you multiply them together, you'll have a minimum. Okay. So that's it for the word problem worksheet. Hopefully that gave you a good idea of all the types of word problems you might run into. So hopefully these all make sense. There's very little I can trick you with on a quiz or a test. So that's it. That's all. And good luck with studying.